I know. I said no more videos about Ozempic for a while, and I don't think it lasted a month. But in my defense, people started talking about it again all of a sudden, so here I am. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. So recently, GLP-1 analogues, particularly Ozempic, since that's the most popular one, have been brought back into the limelight because of the fact that they cause muscle loss for the people using them. Now, this was something that was said on the Huberman Lab podcast, and I've been seeing a lot of other people talking about this too. A few things were said on this podcast, the main thing being that they're finding that people that use medications like Ozempic are losing equal amounts of fat and muscle, meaning that the weight loss is not just fat loss, it's also muscle loss, which comes with some issues. So today I'm going to explain how and why this could happen, and why it's not quite as black and white as some people are making it seem. So let's get into it. So just a quick recap about what these medications are. GLP-1 analogues are synthetic versions of the hormone glucagon-like peptide 1, which is naturally found in our bodies. We make this hormone, but in some situations, like in people with type 2 diabetes, this hormone becomes less efficient. So GLP-1 plays a role in blood sugar control because when you eat, it signals for your body to make and release insulin into the bloodstream, which leads to reduced blood sugar levels. Go watch my video on blood sugar control for more information on how exactly insulin works. So GLP-1 increases insulin levels, which is great for people with type 2 diabetes because their blood sugar levels are high. Now, another thing these medications do is slow down the rate of stomach emptying. So when you eat food, your stomach will periodically empty its contents into the intestines, which is where all the nutrients get absorbed usually. So when you slow down stomach emptying, nutrients like glucose will enter the bloodstream at a slower rate, and this is good because it can prevent blood sugar spikes after you eat. Now, if you have type 2 diabetes, you definitely want to avoid blood sugar spikes because these cause damage to blood vessels and nerves if they keep happening. Now, something else also happens if you slow down stomach emptying. Because food is staying in the stomach for longer, you will actually feel fuller for longer. And this is one of the reasons that weight loss is associated with these medications as well. But they have also found it works on the brain in some way to reduce signals of hunger. So it's working on the brain and the stomach. But the main thing is that stomach effect. So that's how these medications work. Now, these medications have been great at reducing blood sugar levels, and they are an effective treatment for type 2 diabetes. The research has shown this. They've also been found to be effective at weight loss. But we're here today to discuss the muscle loss that could potentially happen alongside this weight loss. Muscle loss is also known as sarcopenia, and next week I will be doing a bit of a deep dive into this topic, so subscribe to make sure you don't miss it. But muscle loss isn't exactly about the type of muscle we see on bodybuilders or elite athletes. It's about the muscles that allow us to do all the activities we need to do to carry on with our daily lives. Now, imagine not being able to lift a bag of groceries or go up a flight of stairs without feeling any pain. These are the types of things that become harder with weakened muscles. And as we all age, muscle loss will occur. It's just part of aging. But anything that speeds this process up will result in these issues appearing at a much younger age. And the issues I'm talking about are reduced mobility, reduced independence, and a risk of falls and injuries that can result in death. So what does Ozempic have to do with all of this? Well, as I said before, these medications slow down stomach emptying and can make you feel fuller for longer. So a lot of the weight loss that occurs tends to be because of eating less food and putting the body in a calorie deficit. Some might say a starvation state. Now, when this happens, your body will still need energy as per usual, but it isn't getting enough energy from food. So it starts to break down storage forms of energy. First, it starts with glucose. Glycogen is your storage form of glucose, and these stores will be used up first, but then fat and muscle will be broken down for energy. I made a video in the past explaining that weight loss doesn't always mean fat loss, and this is very relevant to this case. Because the weight being lost as a result of Ozempic or Mounjaro isn't necessarily fat, it can be muscle as well. So what does the research say? The study that most people are focusing on right now is something called the Step 1 trial, which was the first trial that attempted to show the effectiveness of Ozempic for treating adult obesity. Now in this trial, 140 of the patients went through a DEXA scan, which can actually show body composition, and it tells you the amount of fat mass and also fat-free mass so that you can determine how much muscle someone has or how much muscle someone has lost. And what these scans found was that about 39% of the weight that these people lost was lean mass, which means muscle. But look, when you try to lose weight, muscle loss will occur. It's just something that will need to happen. Usually though, we see 20 to 30% of the weight being lost being muscle loss. So this number creeping towards 40% definitely isn't good. But it's not as simple as just looking at these numbers. The main thing we want to look at when it comes to weight reduction in obese individuals is their overall body composition and whether this is improving. And if you look at these trials, yes, they lost a fair amount of lean mass, but their proportion of lean mass increased. What does this mean? Well, at the start of the trial, they would have had much more fat mass compared to lean mass. And by the end, while they lost a lot of muscle, they lost more fat. So they have improved the ratio, because what we want in the end is a lower amount of body fat percentage, ideally about 25%. But this will change depending on your age and gender. So with this trial, we moved towards the right direction in the end. But yes, that amount of muscle loss is too much in my opinion. Does this mean GLP-1 analogues are awful and we shouldn't be using them? Not quite. What we do need to make sure is that everyone using them is educated on what is going on with their body composition when they lose weight. If you are using Ozempic or Mounjaro or any of the other GLP-1 analogues, you need to be making sure that you are participating in resistance exercises and eating a diet that gives you enough protein to make sure you do not lose as much muscle mass, because then you will be helping yourself to lose more fat compared to muscle. So let's go back to the Step 1 trial and see whether any education was provided to participants that may have helped them preserve their muscle mass during this trial. Well, I went through the study and it said that participants were given individual counseling sessions once a month to help them adhere to a reduced calorie diet. No mention though about anything to do with increased protein intake to help maintain muscle. And in terms of exercise, it says that they encourage the participants to do 150 minutes of physical activity a week, such as walking. Again, no mention of resistance exercises. Walking, unfortunately, isn't going to be enough to help prevent muscle loss. It needs to be resistance exercises like lifting weights. Now, the participants recorded their diets and physical activity in a diary, but we get none of this information in the study itself. So I think I'm going to safely say that measures that could have prevented the amount of muscle loss that took place in these trials were not used. There are ways to protect your muscle during weight loss, and these are things we need to be making sure everyone is aware of when it comes to any kind of weight loss method. It's not just these medications that can cause muscle loss, it's just weight loss in general. Now, the concerning thing here is that somehow there are people who don't even have obesity that are using the medication, and that's where it becomes scary, because the less fat mass there is to lose, the more muscle you will lose instead. And that can really impact on your muscle mass and the risk of sarcopenia, falls, and fractures in the future. So really, anyone that isn't diabetic or obese should not even be thinking about being on this medication. But that's all I have to say for now about this. I'm hoping it's cleared the air and helped to explain what people are talking about when they are saying Ozempic leads to muscle loss. It's not as simple as that, and because short form content is so popular these days, it's easy for things to be misunderstood. So if you learned something or enjoyed the video, please subscribe and give a like. I will be doing a video to explain what exactly you can do to maintain your muscle mass during weight loss as a bit of a follow-up to this, so keep an eye out. Hope you all have a great week. See you in the next video, and until then, keep playing the long game.